Aiden. You guys make me step up my game here. Are y'all feeling inspired? Really and truly. Isn't it amazing what music does? Really, in such a short time, there is something different about music that just takes things to a whole other level where you don't need to say a whole lot, but you get the message. Amy didn't know what I was talking about today, but it is so on point to what I have to share with you. I just love how Spirit works when we let things flow. So that idea of being inspired, are you feeling inspired? You all know what it feels like to be inspired, right? Well, what does it mean? Literally, when you think about what does the word inspire mean? In spirit, right? In spirit, inspire. The word spire comes from the Latin word spiritus, which means spirit. But what I didn't know, so I did my research, was that the word spirit, that same spiritus, actually means to breathe. Breathe. So when we inspire, it has two different meanings, right? It has the meaning is to breathe in, but it also means to be in spirit. Isn't that something? Right? And in the creation myth, it talks about God breathing the spirit, right, into man. So that idea of breathing and spirit, breathing, spirit, inspiration. To be inspired requires that you be in the moment. You know what I mean, right? To be present, you know what it is to be present? It means you're here and now. You're not in the chatter in your brain with what happened yesterday, what you're worried about tomorrow. You're in the present moment. Inspiration can happen in an instant. Right? Beethoven got full symphonies in an instant. He was inspired, right? He was in spirit. When we breathe, we're in the moment. So think about this. Do you ever say, dang, I really just didn't breathe real well yesterday, so I'm going to do a better job today? Or, you know, I don't want to work so hard tomorrow, so I'm going to breathe extra today so I don't have to do it tomorrow. Like, right? Absurd. Breathing is something that we have to do in the moment, just like being inspired and being inspired. We don't think about breathing. It just is part of who we are. But inspiration, for some reason or other, doesn't happen as easily, does it? Right? That's something, seems that sometimes we have to work at that a little bit more. I just came back from a 6-day cruise in the Caribbean. That's where this inspiration came from, Ocean of Inspiration. And it's real easy to be inspired when you're on Caribbean islands, right? For 6 days, you're on a cruise. People are serving you and taking care of you, and it's just wonderful. Everything is beautiful and new. And then there's, you know, the contemplation of coming home, and right? There's not going to be anybody to serve me anymore. I'm going to have a load of laundry to do. I mean, there's all that stuff that comes, and you know, and it's not so inspiring. So what I'm sharing with you today is part of my talk from the cruise. The cruise was actually a retreat, and it was a class. It was our homiletics class, because as most of you know, I'm in ministerial program. And homiletics class is speech for ministers. So I was on the ship with 10 of my classmates, 3 instructors, and 2 significant others. And I planned it, and I had a talk to do. So you're getting part of the talk. You're getting kind of a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's kind of an altered version. So my talk was about how to be inspired when things are not so inspiring, right? How do we turn it around? And so the way we do this is that we have to learn how to see things differently. You know, before enlightenment, how many know that phrase? Chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, right? It's always there. The bills are always there. The laundry is always there. There are always those things that make life seem kind of mundane. And the truth of it is, we live in a tropical paradise right here. You don't have to go far to see beauty. But when you're in the middle of it, when you see it all the time, you get used to it. And what happens is you get blinded to the familiar. You know what I mean with that term? You blinded to the familiar. If anybody moved to Florida from someplace else when you first came, it was this paradise, right? This wonderful place. And then suddenly it's just home. You know, and it just doesn't do it for you anymore, right? We get blinded to the familiar. I'll share a little something. It's a little embarrassing, but one of my classmates says we have to be naked in front of our congregation. I'm not going to go that far, but just tell you a little embarrassing story. We had a big New Year's Eve party in my house, and we decorated, put lots of shiny things. I like shiny things, right? Hanging from the ceilings, and I just loved it. And it was so pretty that after the party, I thought, well, we'll just leave it up, through January. And where are we now? End of April. The sparkly things are still hanging in my house. And I just I don't notice them anymore unless I know somebody's coming over. And then I think, well, how would a stranger look at this? I'd be a little embarrassed. I have to look at it from a different perspective, right? So it's not just that. Anybody else have the piles of stuff, that sit on your counter that you forget they're there until somebody else is coming and is going to see it, right? Or is it just me? Don't make me feel bad. Don't judge. So it happens in objects, right? It also happens in our habits, right? We get blinded by the familiar. How many people have to think about what they're going to do when they get up in the morning? You all got your whole morning routine, right? You get up, you brush your teeth, you have your coffee, you get dressed, you go to work. I mean, we all do these things by rote. So it's not bad to be blinded by the familiar necessarily, because you don't want to have to think about doing all those things every day. What happens though is sometimes, my mom one time got ready for work, did the whole thing, got on the subway and thought, wow, it's awfully empty. It's because it was Saturday. But these things happen to us, right? Or else we get caught up in beliefs. Things, preconceived ideas, notions of what's proper and what we're supposed to do, and what's expected of us. And we don't realize that we're trapped by the familiar. There's a story, some of you may have heard this before, of a woman who she just moved out of her home, and she's going to make her first, nice ham for Christmas. And she gets out her pan and she cuts off the ends, just like her mom always did. And her husband says, well, why'd you do that? She's like, I don't know, my mom always did it this way, right? So, but she becomes curious, right? He's like, why are you going to throw away all that meat? I mean, that's good stuff, right? So she calls her mom and she says, Mom, why do you cut the ends off the ham, when you make it before Christmas, for Christmas? And Mom says, I don't know, it's because that's how my mom always did it. All right, so they get Grandma on the phone. Grandma, why do you cut the ends off the ham before you put it in the pan? Grandma said, because I never had a pan big enough. Right? We get blinded by the familiar. We just do what we're supposed to do. You don't ask the questions, right? There are certain roles that we fall into. This is what we're supposed to do. This is what we're used to. We get these beliefs about things that aren't necessarily so. How many people have realized they had some false beliefs that changed over time, right? When you know better, you do better. I'll share one of Reverend Peggy's because it goes along with this. Growing up, she had this call, this spiritual pull, knowing that there was something. Spirit was calling her. But in that time, the paradigm was women were not ministers. So she thought her call was to marry a minister. Thank goodness she broke out of that, right? So we do that. But so it takes effort sometimes to look outside of that. And so one of the ways that I'm going to give you to break out of that blindness of the familiar is to turn things upside down. Artists, when they paint, they sometimes have to turn the object that they're painting upside down so that they can see it for what it is. So that you're not looking and thinking, I've got to paint a nose or I'm painting a chair, because then you have that preconceived notion of what it's supposed to look like. If you turn it upside down, then you see the nuances of color and the shades, and you actually see what's there. So life can be like that. We can take the situations that we're in and do a 180. When you get too familiar with something, do a 180, turn it upside down. We can get caught up in, I tell you, a really great place this works is when someone pushes your button. You know what I mean by pushes your button, right? Ticks you off, pushes that button. And you say, they shouldn't be so lazy, right? He or she shouldn't be so selfish. Politicians shouldn't be preaching fear. Okay, so what are we doing there? So y'all know this, right? We are shoulding on other people. And that's not a nice thing to do. Right? You don't want to should on other people. You don't want to should on yourself. Because when we should on other people, we're giving our power away to them. You realize that, right? Right? Because when you're saying somebody should or shouldn't do something, do you have any control over that? None, right? So what we do with this should is we turn it into I could. Can you control yourself? Right? That is the only place that we have any control, that we can make any kind of a changes in ourselves. So instead of saying those politicians shouldn't be talking fear, what would I say instead? I could turn off the TV, or you know what? I could talk about love. I can preach something else, right? I don't have to do that. Instead of he or she shouldn't be so lazy, I could take it easy. Yeah, right? I could take it easy, right? She shouldn't be so angry. I could be more understanding, right? I could brighten her day, right? We just take those things and we turn that should into I could. That's a way of doing the 180. This is now, what I gave you is just like a snapshot. There's a woman who's created a whole like life mission around this stuff. She calls it The Work. Her name is Byron Katie. She's got books, she's got seminars. When you get a hold of this, it is like deep, deep work. The best time to do it is when somebody really pushes one of those buttons. And you sit there and you list down all the things about them that really ticks you off. And then you do the 180. It'll change your life. Change your life. Another way to do this. Well, let me tell you what happened on the cruise. This is really fun. So I wrote up this talk, and as life has it, I usually, in the laboratory of my life, I get to try out what I'm talking about. Right? Because I don't want to get up here and talk to you about things that I don't really know about. I got to talk to you about my life, what has worked. I throw it out there, and then you guys take what you need and what works for you, and discard the rest. So I'm talking about doing this 180 thing, right, with life, and life handed me an opportunity on the cruise. So I'm hanging out with my buddies after we've had class. We worked hard, but we played hard too. And so the first night of the cruise, there was a karaoke place, the karaoke bar. So I went up there and I sang my little heart out, and people went, wow. I did it last. Some of you have heard me sing. Alan, the song? Let me see. Maybe I'll give you just a couple of bars here of it last. I wanted Amy to accompany me, but she didn't have the music. At last, my love has come along. My lonely days are over, and life is like a song. Oh yeah, yeah. At last. Anyway, it was a blast. So people said, you have got to be in the karaoke contest. It's the last night of the cruise. You'll have a blast. The qualifier's tomorrow. So told all my friends, and all 15, and everybody had different bedtimes, and the contest was late at night, but they all came to cheer me on. And it was wonderful. It was beautiful. And I felt so inspired, and I was so happy. And I got my own little fan club. It was like the weirdest thing. It's 4,000 people on this ship, right? And people are calling me by name and like, wow, that was awesome. So it's 15 of us, and 2 other people were singers and performers. So we started encouraging them. You guys ought to be in the karaoke contest too. So they didn't want to, and then talked them into it. And again, it was another group activity. Everyone went together to cheer them on in this karaoke thing. And one of the people was a significant other of one of the students. She goes to Agape. She is actually a professional performer. She did some Broadway stuff. Cabaret was what she sang, and she was awesome, and she is beautiful. This is one of these people, gorgeous inside and out. Just she speaks, and it's love and sunshine, and you just fall in love with this woman. And the other one was one of my classmates, George, who I've been in class with for a long time. And George and his partner Ed have the Center for Spiritual Living in Boston, and I could say this because I would say this in front of them. If you've seen The Birdcage, Robin Williams and his partner, that's Ed and George. And they are love. I mean, love personified. I love these guys. George is like a mime, a professional mime. He does all this robot stuff, and he moves his body in these really just all kinds of weird ways. And he's probably 60, I don't know. We go out on the dance floor, and George would get out there and start doing his thing. And kids, literally, and this ship was full of kids for some reason. Michigan public schools were on spring break. So of the 4,000 people, probably 1,000 seniors, high school seniors. And they'd sit on the edge and watch George dance, literally with their mouths hanging open like, I cannot believe what this man is doing. And then they come to us and say, can we hang out with you? You guys are more fun than our friends. So George had his fan club, right? George has got his fan club. So George, finally, we talk him into doing the karaoke competition. And both he and, her name escaped me all of a sudden. Cliff's girlfriend. Anyway, Cliff's girlfriend and George both get in the karaoke competition, right? So there's 3 of us that are going to compete now. 4,000 people. We're a group of 15. 3 of us are in this competition. So, so I start getting, I'm getting a sore throat all of a sudden, right? And thinking, wow, wouldn't it be a shame if I don't have to compete on Friday? Because really, I don't like competition. I'm putting it mildly when I say that. I really despise competition. And I've crafted a life where I don't have to compete with people for anything, because I just don't like it. And it really was like a spiritual kind of thing almost, like I don't have to compete with people. I just want to be my best. So we're sitting at dinner, and one of my companions says, now here's what you're going to do. You're going to go do some mirror work. I had them do mirror work on the retreat, so she threw it back in my lap, right? You're going to go do some mirror work, and you're going to look in the mirror, and you're going to tell yourself you're the best, because you are. And you're going to win this competition. And I went, but I don't want to be the best. And the tears started flowing. Literally. I'm just like, wow. And I went right back to 6th grade. I did. Now, I've been a winner and I've been a loser. Okay, but 6th grade was the awards competition for the end of the year. Right, in May, June, everybody's getting their awards. And I was the kid nobody wanted on their team, but I was really smart. So they're giving out awards, and award after award after award, and I kept getting them. And I got, 8 awards, 10 awards, something like it was like some crazy number. And it was fun at first, but then I keep getting up. And as I'm getting up, I'm walking back to my seat, and I'm looking at my friends, and I'm dying. Right? Because they're not getting the awards. And suddenly it wasn't so much fun to be the winner. And then I was embarrassed. And then I didn't want to be in any competition ever again, because I didn't want to be up against my friends ever. So here I am, karaoke competition. Up against George and Ashley, the gorgeous Ashley. But people were like behind me. Again, I told you I had this fan club. People were like on the ship, can't wait to hear you sing. And all of my friends were saying, can't wait to hear you sing. And then I had to speak about this. So what was I telling you? Why did I start all this? Because of the 180, right? The 180 was like, competition is bad. I don't like competition. So now I have to say what? Competition is good. I could compete. This could be good. Yeah, this could be good. All right, yeah, okay. And I started looking for the good, really. I started looking for the good in the whole competitive thing. But it really didn't come together until the actual competition. Ashley went first. She did cabaret. And Ashley wasn't worried about competing, I'll tell you, because she put it all out there. She was phenomenal. And then I went. And from her example, I sang my heart out. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. I don't even know what the prize is. I don't care. But I'm going to do my best. That's what I care about. I don't really care about winning. I just care about doing my best. And then George went. And George sang My Way. Now, there's more to this story. I can't get into it now, but George sang My Way, and y'all are all My Way kind of people, aren't you? So multiply that times 5 with all these ministerial students. We're all about My Way. He gets up there and he says, I'm going to dedicate this song to my dad, who's no longer here, and to my beloved George. I'm sorry, to my beloved Ed. And the room was packed with people who are not Science of Mind, mind you. Okay? There are people on the floor. There's standing room only. It's just jam-packed. And he says, I dedicate this to my beloved George. And Ed, Ed, thank you. You're paying attention. You passed the test. And we were, frankly, we were a little concerned about what the crowd was going to think and say, you know, because the times we live in, not everyone is loving and open as we are. But, you know, he sang and he did an incredible job. And the room, I mean, there were kids, those teenagers that were watching us. There's a few boys on the side that were literally holding their hearts, hanging on to each other as he was singing. My tears coming down as he was singing. And I tell you, it was a synchronicity for us. It was an incredible moment. So George won. George won the competition. But what I got out of that whole experience, the whole thing, was I can't dim my own light. You know, you guys, I sing now, you see me here, anybody who's been to this church on any regular basis, you know that I sing pretty regularly. But you know, I didn't sing. I didn't put myself out there for at least probably 25 years or more. Yeah. You did. You did, 25 years. And I had people, you know, somebody came up to us after and said, are you guys like traveling performers? I said, no, we're actually ministers in training. They said, well, you know, you have a gift. And whatever you do in life, whether it's ministering or whatever, you need to make that music part of that gift. You know, and I got to thinking about how I had just dimmed my own light for so long, for all of those years, for worry about what, you know, really, what does it come down to? I wanted people to like me, you know? I didn't want to stand out too much, right? So dimmed my own light. And I'm not doing that anymore. Right? For those of you who saw the films yesterday, the jelly beans, right? Every day of your life is a jelly bean. I don't know how many of those I have left. And you guys don't know, right? We don't know. So ain't nobody got time for that. Okay? We have work to do. We have work to do. And it doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve anybody to dim their own light. You know, the kids that got up here yesterday, was that not inspiring to everybody? Amy, my God, every time she's on stage, she just puts it out there. You know, and it inspires because we love to see people living their truth. We love to see people living their passion. We love to see people doing what they do well. Because just the Marianne Williamson poem, right? It says it's not our darkness that we're afraid of, it's our light. And when we give ourselves permission to shine in whatever area that is, it gives other people permission to shine. Isn't that awesome? And that is what we're here to do. So you want more inspiration in your life? Hang out with people who love what they do. Not just hang out with people, do what you love to do. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be playing with the kids. It could be being dad, right? Right? It could be nursing to people, ministering to them in that way. Could be singing, could be painting, could be dancing, could be gardening. It doesn't matter. Just do what it is that you love, and that's how you live an inspired life. I found something in this, Ernest Holmes. I was reading last night looking for a quote, and it was just so perfect. Let me find this. Love when things come together. You rob no person when you discover your own good. You limit no person when you express a greater degree of livingness. You harm no one by being happy. You steal from no one by being prosperous. You hinder no person's evolution when you consciously enter into the kingdom of your own good and possess it today. Possess your good. Possess your good. So, you want to be inspired? Do a 180, right? Do what you love. Live in the moment. My son's here and his girlfriend, Jessica. And Jessica's got a little boy named Aiden. And Aiden is 4. And kids love to live in the moment. And they don't think about it. That's just where they are. There's no time for kids. There's no yesterday. Yesterday could be a year ago. It could have been 2 minutes ago. It's all whatever, right? And there's no tomorrow. You ask Aiden, you want to go to the dump? We're going to throw out trash. He says, oh, that's going to be so much fun. We say, Aiden, we're going to go out and pull weeds. He says, oh, that's going to be so much fun. Right? So be like a kid. Be like a kid. Right? Just say, life is going to be so much fun. And it is. And it is. And so it is. So it is. I will leave you with a short prayer, a very short prayer. If you would if you want to, feel comfortable, just close your eyes and turn within for a moment. And I'm just going to read these words to you. Also from This Thing Called You, which Reverend Peggy read from this morning in our meditation. Just relax and feel yourself in that secret place of the Most High, where you run in and around and through Spirit. I cleanse the windows of my mind, that it may become a mirror reflecting inspiration from the Most High. I do this not with strenuous effort, but through quiet contemplation, through gently reaching and affirming an inward recognition. Today I walk in the pathway of inspiration. I know exactly what to do in every situation. There is an inspiration with me which governs every act, every thought, with certainty, with conviction, and in peace. The key that unlocks the treasures of the kingdom of good is in my hand. I unlock the doorway of my consciousness and gently open it with that the divine presence may flood my whole being with light, illumine my being with its radiant glow, and direct my footsteps into the pathway of peace and joy. And so it is.